go.
All right, baby, we live. Let this build up. Let the viewers join.
Another Sunday. They come around very quick, don't they, these Sundays?
I have to say, dude, they're flying by. I can't believe we've ended March. Ramadan's over, Eid's over, March is over.
I was going to say, April next weekend, it's just frightening.
I almost feel guilty at times when I'm sitting there thinking I should be doing something. Time is ticking by. I'm wasting time. I'm losing time. I need to be pushing. I need to be doing something. I've constantly got this anxiety with time. So, but tomorrow, at least one thing about shift is like going back to work shift, it gives me structure. When I have structure, I am the most productive. So from tomorrow, I'm going to ramp things up, mate. Take things to a whole new level, baby.
All good.
All good. Right, guys, this is episode 91 of Disqualified Dads Weekly Chat, Weekly Live Q&A. On this channel, what we do is we help you get through your family court journey. We address all of your questions. We provide technical, emotional, mental support. And we try and help you get closer to your children week by week. I'm joined by my co-host, That Family Law Guy, Mackenzie Pickard, Mr. Ryan, Dan the Man, the White Knight, call him whatever you will. He's the knight in shining armor. He's on the front line, battling and slaying the dragons on behalf of us fathers. Mr. Ryan, what's happening? What's going on?
Good evening. It is Sunday, the 29th of March, 2026. Oh, my word. We are going to enter April in the middle of this week. That really is quite frightening. That will put us heading towards a third of the way through the year, which is really quite disturbing. But we are where we are. It is. We're also heading towards Easter, obviously. Easter weekend next week for those who celebrate. So a long weekend for all of us. For those of us who choose to sort of observe bank holidays, which I don't. But obviously we've got Good Friday, which is a bank holiday coming up, and then Easter Monday follows. So it's maybe people will have the opportunity to do something, a little bit of downtime for everybody, and I trust you do something sensible and fun with it, whatever that might be. We will still be here, of course, despite the fact it will be Easter Sunday, and it is one of only two, I think it is now, one of only 2 days in the year when it is illegal to open to open supermarkets,
really,
and DIY stores. Yeah, bizarrely, there are only 2 days in the year: Christmas Day and Easter Sunday. Which is why the shops are always shut on Christmas Day and Easter Sunday, or the bulk of the shops are shut. Convenience stores get away with being open. But yeah, it's because it is against the law to open.
Wix or B&Q will be closed Easter Sunday.
They will be closed Easter Sunday. The DIY stores will be closed. The supermarkets are closed on Easter Sunday.
Damn.
And now I have now you've got me started now, because I have an issue with this. Because when I was a boy, which I appreciate was a long time ago, and dinosaurs were still roaming the earth.
Absolutely.
But when I was a boy, the shops weren't open on a Sunday. Sunday was the day, and I appreciate this is in my faith, if you like, rather than the Muslim faith. But in my faith, Sunday was the day of rest, and Sunday was the day that you did something with your family. You went off to the park, you went to the zoo, but what you didn't do was go bloody shopping. And here we are now, X amount of years later, and now we shop 7 days a week, and it saddens me. It saddens me. I've got a very, very large retail park near my office. So I drive past it, obviously, pretty regularly. And I'll drive past it on a Sunday when I'm either heading to the office or from the office or whatever. I'll drive past the retail park, and it's rammed and it's gridlocked with people trying to get on the car park. And I think, that's immensely sad. You people should be with your family. You should be walking in a park.
This is capitalism, though. This is it.
Yeah. It is, and it's immensely sad. It's sad. We have eroded the value of family.
Absolutely.
As a result of the fact that we worship at the altar of retail.
Capitalism.
And it saddens me greatly, and I appreciate that and I have every admiration for this. That in the Muslim faith, obviously, family is much, and I'm going to say this: family is much more important. That on your side of the fence than on my side of the fence, and that saddens me greatly. It really does. But anyway, I've wandered off at a complete tangent. But it is Easter Sunday next week. We will still be here because we're not a shop. So we will still be here on Sunday evening, having a gossip and catching up on how the week has been. But meanwhile, we are in this week. How has yours been, chap?
My week has been good. I've been in a good space, ups and downs. Actually, I had a dream last night. I saw my son. I had a dream and I saw my son. And obviously, how old is he now? I've even forgotten. Is he 6 or is he 7? Right, he's 7 years old now. But I saw him as he left me, at 3 years old, a little man just running around, and something happened. And before that, I had a dream a couple of days ago. I'll tell you what happened, right? So Thursday evening, I've had a lot of insomnia. So on the back end of Ramadan, not being at work, everything, I've had a lot of insomnia, right? So Thursday night, I found some pills at home, right? And they were very strong antihistamines, and they double up as sleeping pills, apparently. And the doctor gave me them 4 years ago when I went there. They said, look, take these, they'll knock you out. You're depressed, you're not well, blah, blah, blah. I never took them. Now, I thought to myself, I can't sleep. I remember, and I had it written on there, sleeping pills. So I thought, look, I've had a lot of insomnia. The brain is tired. I've not slept properly in months. Anyway, I took this pill thinking I'll get a good 8 hours. So went to bed 2 o'clock Thursday morning, so Thursday night, took that pill. And then when I woke up the following morning, I looked at my clock right straight away, and it said 15:49. It was almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I slept through. I thought, what? I missed Friday prayers. I thought, flipping it, it can't be right. I thought, nah. So I opened my eyes. I had a look outside. I thought, is it day? Is it afternoon? Have I missed it? Is it early morning? Like, is it 4 in the morning or is it 4 the next day? Long story short, I missed Friday prayers. It was 4 o'clock and I was sparkle for 14 hours. And these pills were so strong that then on that Friday night when I went to bed, 1 o'clock, I sparkle again for a solid 7 hours, 6, 7 hours. And then last night when I went to bed, I have to say, I went to bed, 1 o'clock, 1:30? And I was sparkle again. And then when I got up at 8 in the morning, I just went in and out of sleep till 12 o'clock before I rolled out of bed. So I've had a lot of sleep, caught up on a lot of sleeping. You got to understand, guys, I've done shift work for well over, it must be 15 plus years. My sleeping is so bad, my sleeping pattern. And this last year, I have functioned with very little sleep. This ain't good for your brain, man. This ain't good for your health. This has been bothering me. So this tablet, mate, is hopefully done all the repair and healing that my brain needed. But during this period of sleeping, I dreamt I saw my kids. That's what happened. I saw the kids. And I remember in my dream at one point, I was actually getting emotional. And when I woke up, I thought, it's just a dream, right? Forget it, move on. But other than that, other than the sleeping, I'm all right. I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm just focused. I'm pushing the content. I'm making daily videos. We're getting a lot of momentum on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Guys, like, subscribe, follow, and share to both channels, Disqualified Dads and That Family Law Guy. And also, I've got a lot of people messaging me on Instagram. They need help and support, so we're trying to allocate the relevant people to these, to these cases to try and get them support they need. So things are good. We're pushing the right way. We're moving in the right direction. I feel getting the message out there.
The obvious question, question, and I can hear a number of members of the audience screaming this question out. Are the pills still in date?
Do they go out of date? Well, listen,
pills
they work.
Pills go out of date.
let me put it this way. Let me tell you guys something. There's one thing you guys should know about me, that I'm not a by the book kind of guy. I don't always follow the rules. And the pills, whether they were in date or not, they worked. They're good. Listen, I might pop one tonight. I might pop one after this stream. How about that? Get number 14 hours in.
My concern is,
boom.
And far be it from me to be the worried parent, but my concern is, when you get kidney failure as a result of the fact that you are taking expired pills, because what happens with pills? No, you need to listen to me here. What happens with pills is pills obviously are a chemical formula. The chemical formula breaks down over time, and they return to their ingredient state, and then they don't react in the way that they were designed to, and so you can actually do yourself incredible damage taking expired medication. You might want to just check that.
No, you're right.
Lecture
I get
over.
it.
Lecture
I,
over.
I agree with you, but one pill, guys, one pill, and then add to that, I have had mercury poisoning before. I've had many different types of poisoning and exposures. I've done all sorts of stuff, and touch, touch wood. I'm good, man. Have you seen pictures of me? Have you seen my abs? Have you seen me in the
I
gym?
appreciate
I,
obviously
I'm
that East
indestructible.
London is full of poisonous snakes. I appreciate that, and that you have become immune to them by accepting their venom in your morning
Indestructible.
coffee. I appreciate that.
Indestructible. I am indestructible. That's it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I
I
just
can't
raised
be
the
broke.
point as a little point of concern.
Valid
That's
point.
all.
That's actually a good point. And to add to that, stay away from drugs. Fathers, stay away from drugs. Stay away from vices. They are not your
Amen.
friend. It is a very dark, slippery road you may not make it back from. And all jokes aside, I remember that father, Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
He literally
Yes.
drank himself to death. So look, guys,
He
all
did.
jokes aside, stay away from these vices. Stay on the righteous path, and remember the 10 Commandments. Stick to those principles. Stick to these things and you will survive. Our job is to help you get through, give you hope, help you survive, give you the tools you need to make it out the other side. So all jokes aside, yeah, stay away from all of that.
Amen. Amen.
Right. We've got a couple of questions. Shall we address them?
Come on, let's see what's happening out there.
Right. Evening, gents, from Mr. Zeke. All good. All right, Miss Noel. Hello. Finally got my directions hearing on Thursday. Can the judge make the decision on that day if the respondent doesn't respond or show up given the history? Good question.
Very short answer for you, Noel. Yes, you can. If the judge essentially has run out of patience and decides that he's given the father more than enough opportunity to respond in this matter, and I appreciate, obviously, we've been following this journey with you, and I appreciate the father has been disappointing. Then yeah, the judge can absolutely make a decision on that day, because I know you're pursuing an application in order to relocate. He can absolutely make that decision on, when are you telling me? Thursday. On Thursday. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good luck, Miss Noel. Listen, before we carry on, quick question. The title, the thumbnail. Do you want to expand on the thumbnail and the title?
Yeah, remind me, what did I say the thumbnail?
I was hoping.
Why are you
remember.
asking me?
My phone's over there. I'll have to go and get it.
Oh, right. Bear with me, everybody, while I just remind myself of what the thumbnail. I think I might have been in plain sight, but let me just hang on a minute.
I think it was. Yeah,
myself.
That sounds familiar.
Let me remind myself of the thumbnail. I apologise, folks, for the fact that neither of us can actually remember what the thumbnail is. That's a bit disappointing.
Yes, we are very unprofessional. I get it, guys. We know. We get it.
Totally unprofessional. We haven't got a clue between us. Group effort, Zil. Right. Yeah. Here we go. It was in plain sight. I was absolutely right. Okay. What I meant by that was one of my issues that I'm coming across more often in family court is that you'll go to a hearing. Doesn't matter, mums, dads, doesn't matter. Everybody's suffering the same problem at the moment. You'll go to a hearing, and the judge will adopt a position. The judge will, you get a very clear indication of where the judge is on a matter. He's either pro mom or he's pro dad. But you get a position from that judge, because they're saying, well, I like this and I don't like that, and I want this to happen, I want that to happen. So you leave that room either with that judge on your side, thinking, yeah, okay, I understand what that judge wants. I think he's with me. That's great. Or you leave knowing full well that the judge is against you. You go back 3 months later on another hearing. You're in front of the same judge. You know how he operates, or she operates. You know exactly what you're going to get, so you're ready for it. You walk into the room, and the judge, it's like the judge has had a personality change. And the judge adopts a totally different position. And I'll give you a very specific example. I had a matter a long time ago. I never refer to current cases. So I had a matter a very long time ago where the judge said at a hearing, I want a letter from the doctor from the mother, because the mother had suggested that she had some mental health issues as a result of the abuse that she'd suffered. So the judge said, I want a letter from the doctor so I can get some confirmation of that. I want a letter from the school to describe what the children are doing. Those are two very key things that he wanted. We get them. The documents get got. We respond to them. So the mother makes her comments about these documents. I'm looking after the dad in that particular matter. We make our comments about these particular documents. We go back into a hearing. And the first thing that the barrister who was looking after mother, who was actually a very nice lady, as in the mother was very pleasant and the barrister was also very pleasant, said to the judge, well, okay, judge, obviously you can see we've got the school letter and we've got the GP letter. And the judge's comment, bearing in mind the judge had ordered these things because he felt they would be useful, the judge's comment was, well, I'm not really interested in those. Let's just move on.
Great.
You think, well, how does that help? How does that level of inconsistency help? And so the reason I use the phrase "in plain sight" is because in plain sight you are seeing this fundamental change of personality, this fundamental change of position, this fundamental change of attitude towards your case. And life is hard enough in the family court with you trying to deal with the principles of law, with trying to deal with the precedents of law, without having to try and second guess what you're going to get from the judge on that day as a result of whether they've had a good day, a bad day, or whether they just don't fancy it anymore. And that gives me a growing concern. I've had a very real example of that this week. I won't go into it, but it just gives me a growing concern that there are so many variables in the family court. There are so many variables that your ability to try and navigate a path is becoming more difficult as the years roll on.
Yeah, judges can be funny. I mean, the contrast that you hear from one case of one judge to another, there is an element of, I hate to say it, but luck involved. But like I say to people, you cannot focus on factors out of your control. Just focus on you, how you present yourself, facts of your case, and what you're doing ultimately. Focus on you, focus on things within your parameters and within your control, and leave the things outside of your control, just leave it to fate. Just do your best, I think. But unfortunately, yeah, I have heard a lot of contrasting stories about judges.
It's a very difficult one. Obviously, they're entitled to take whatever stance they want to take, but it can make life awfully hard work.
Absolutely, absolutely. But listen, don't let that deter you. You still chip away. You do your best. That's it. Mr. A, evening, guys. Really good hat label. Still not dead, hard to kill. Absolutely. See, he's a maverick. Mr. Ryan is a bit of a maverick. See? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. I believe this is an American clothing brand, apparently. Somebody bought me this hat. So yeah, this is an American clothing brand, apparently. I can't think what it says. It says something on the back. Hang on, let me look and tell you what it says on the back. On the back it says,
built from.
There you go. Built from pain.
Oh God, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I like it. So I
love
this
it.
hat.
I love it. It's
One of
actually
these,
a nice hat.
looks
It
like it's
suits you.
1,000 years old, but actually it's brand new. They've done all this.
It actually suits you. It
Spraying.
looks good. It looks good.
Yeah.
These hats look good. I mean, as long as we don't bring out the cowboy hat, it's all good. That's it.
Sorry,
No, don't. It's cool. It's cool. The Baker Boy hat and this cap is fine. Yeah, we don't need to bring. Yeah, just it's all good. It's all good. Look, Mr. The S is on time. Hey, good evening.
Look, he's
guys.
with us.
Yes,
He's with us.
Good timing. Good timing.
What a joy.
I have to say, it's a very slow evening. We don't have any more questions currently.
Well, that's all right. There's plenty going on. Now let's talk about this. What?
Go on.
Do you feel, from your experience? Oh, look, we've got another one. Anyway, but do you feel, from your experience, that in terms of family court, and obviously I appreciate the fact that I have far more hours in there, but let's get your perspective on that, then I'll give you mine. In family court, there are north-south divides, there are cultural divides, there are geographic divides. I mean, do you have a feel for that? Do you think you're going to get a different treatment in one part of the country from the other, also depending on who you are and where you are culturally?
That's a good question, actually. That's actually a good point. The thing is, though, I think, yes, it's possible. But the fact is this, that obviously, look, you deal with fathers up and down the country, right? I speak to fathers also up and down the country. But the general theme of what they feel, their treatment, the theme is the same. You might get small little changes, subtle differences, but the general theme of how the courts roll for a father, the experience is very much similar. Now, like you said, there are elements where some fathers get lucky, they get a fair judge, they get a good judge, they get a sensible judge. But I've heard cases where father felt that because the father had a beard and he looked a certain way, the judge potentially came down harder. Subconscious biases, do they play a role? And when you've got ethnic cards being pulled, religious cards, and then a judge sees a guy who's got a big beard and a hat, and they're saying, "Oh, look, he's Indian and he's backward. He looks down." So I think it may play a part, but again, it depends on the day, the which court you're at, which judge you get. There's elements that are outside your control, and I think yes, potentially. But the theme generally, like I said, if we stick to the 10 Commandments, expect nothing, treat it like a circus. If you stick to that, it cannot break your internal fortitude, because that's the key. Do not pin your hopes on it, because there's too many factors outside your control, way too many factors. That's the problem.
No, I agree. I agree. From my experience, I think there are differences. I think there are. I think the lottery of family court as to where you end up, who you end up in front of, what day you end up in front of them. I think all of that contributes to the outcome of your case. My view, and it's a view that I've held for years, is that if I presented exactly the same case in terms of evidence, in terms of detail, in terms of statements, if I presented exactly the same case to three different judges, I would get three different outcomes.
Yes, yes.
And that's frightening. That is frightening.
Yes, that is very true. Yes.
Yeah, that is the case. I had a case very recently where the outcome, I could not have predicted that outcome, and it did not go well. But I could not have predicted that outcome in 100 years.
Really?
There was no logic. There was no, and I say this openly, there was no logic at all to that outcome. Absolutely none. And so when you're up against that, and you're right, and I appreciate I led you a little, but you're right. I think you do get dealt with differently if you arrive with some, and I'm resisting the temptation to say looking like a stereotype, but I think if you do arrive, as you say, bearded or Asian looking, or indeed white working class, I think you are dealt with differently.
Well, I used to say to people when I first entered the system, right? Yeah, people said to me, "Oh, why don't you take that geezer and that guy with you?" And I tell you straight, me being me, I turned around and I said, "Listen, if I'm going to family court, I don't want no brown guy standing next to me or in my corner." I said, "I want an upright, well presented, polished white guy. Period. I don't want no brown people. I don't want no ethnics around me. I want to stand there with some proper, well presented white people, just to give me any extra advantage that it may." Simple. Yeah. So that was my policy, right? Yeah. So it was all good. So I say to people, look, and yes, and the fact is, like you said, I've said this myself on many occasions to many fathers. You could get two exactly identical cases in front of two judges, and in any given day, you could get two or three, four different outcomes. There's no, like I said. So when you hear these horror stories, oh, so and so went to court, this happened or that happened, do not listen to all the stories. You might get lucky. You don't know. That's why the key to family court is, and when you start talking on these fathers groups, the key is do not listen to these horror stories. Just focus on you, focus on your case, and focus on the factors within your control, period. Because the horror stories, all of these things, They take away hope. And hope is what keeps you alive. And that's just it. And you might be that one case that gets lucky, that gets a good outcome, that gets a good result. But yes, all of those factors are there. On one father's group, they used to call it also that when the judge looks over, he sees, let's say he sees a, like a stereotypical, a big black guy standing there, big, heavily built black guy, or an Asian man with a beard and a hat. That subconscious bias where that they call it the white knight syndrome, where they think this poor woman needs saving from these savages. That sort of thing kicks in, and then the judge comes down even harder. Or let's say another stereotype I used to say, like there's a big lad there, let's say he looks like a typical football fan. Football, if he's a white guy, and because what it is against white people, they use the old, he goes to watch football on a Sunday, he gets drunk, comes home, and then gets violent, that sort of thing, that sort of hooligan sort of stereotype. Someone like that, even standing there, they could even come down on that. There could be a class issue there. Do you see what I'm saying? So many factors I do believe can play out. But again, what I preach is do not focus on that. That's the external. Stay away from it.
It is, but it's a very real problem. I do find myself, and I'm not comfortable with it, but it's a reality of what I do. That when I'm considering representation, i.e., who am I going to put with a client in terms of a solicitor to assist them, or a Mackenzie friend to assist them, or a barrister to assist them, I am spending as much time thinking about the optic, i.e., how will it look to a judge, as I am about deciding who it is who I'm going to put in place. So I'm putting in place somebody not just because of their capability to conduct a legal case, but because of how they're going to look in the environment of that courtroom. And you're right, taking your example, I've got a lad who's the size of a shed, and he's being accused of domestic abuse. I've got to put a woman.
I like that.
I've got to put a female barrister with him, because I've got to dilute that impact of him. And I accept it now. I made a fundamental mistake a number of years ago, because I went into a very, very contentious fact find. It was a 5-day fact find, and it was heated. It was heated before it even started. And I walked in with me, my client, who was the dad. I'm suited, booted, ex-military, so I walk in a particular way. He was suited and booted, ex-military. He walks in a particular way. And our barrister was male, ex-military, suited and booted, walks in a particular way. And we walked into court feeling like three kings. Mother comes into court on the other side of the courtroom. She brings a domestic abuse support worker, female. She brings a barrister, young and female. And the judge walked in, looked at the room and said, "Oh my, what do I have here? The bullies versus the girls." That was the comment that was made. The bullies versus the girls. And I thought, well, we haven't even started yet. And she's already completely drawn a line under us and said, well, I know who you are and I know who you are. And that was a fundamental mistake. And I learned from that. I mean, we just about managed to get away with the fact that I'm going fairly well. But it was a mistake. And so I now have to think about the optic. And so when I'm talking to my barristers who I access and my solicitors who I access, I'm saying I need so-and-so because they're female, or because they're male, or because they're Asian, or because they're Afro-Caribbean, or whatever. And I'm having to make those decisions in order to consider the optic. And that's I shouldn't have to do that. I agree. Have to do that. But I do. But reality says I have to do that.
But this is what I'm saying. This is actually good. I'm glad you mentioned this, because this highlights the point I keep making. Do not follow do not follow a script. Like, you have to think outside the box. And that's the point. You need people, you need a team behind you that can think outside the box. I don't say, well, this is the right thing to do. This would be what would be in a perfect world. Forget all of that. We need to deal with the problem at hand. We need every advantage, and we need to think outside the box. And I say to fathers, do not just leave it to your representative. Throw ideas at him. You got to bounce. It's a relationship where you got to bounce back and forth. You got to throw ideas at him. That might trigger a chain of thought. he might get another idea from that and say, actually, that's a good idea because we can now do this, this, or this. But you got to switch on. You got to stay in that driving seat. You can't switch off. But this is good. This is a good example of how you have to think.
Mm.
Right, let's get to Mr. Mole.
See what we've got.
Right, case got escalated to district judge in Romford, weirdly because of the allegations that I raised, laughing out loud. Is this a good thing? My case is almost inevitably going to fact find. Happy to jump on if you want me to.
Okay, is it a good thing? Yes, it is. But moving from, I assume you've been in magistrates previously, so moving from a bench of magistrates to a district judge is always a good thing because you'll get more application of law. You'll get the conversation will be much blunter, much more direct, and there'll be less flannel. So it is a very good thing to move in front of a district judge. The reason you've moved in front of district judge is because your case is now deemed to be too much for magistrates to deal with. They have a certain threshold whereby there are too many elements now to this case. It's become a little bit too complicated for us to deal with. It needs to move up. And then at district judge level, you have exactly the same issue. It becomes a little bit too complicated. It needs to move up to circuit judge. So where you are is a positive for you. I have every respect for magistrates, but their role is incredibly limited. So it's a positive for you to have moved up to district judge. Yes, from what you say, your case is heading to a fact find. I probably don't disagree with that, given that it's now been escalated to judge, and they've taken on board your allegations, because we now have, I assume, cross allegations. So I assume you're saying something about her, she's saying something about you. That's why the judge is now involved, and that's why inevitably it's going to head to a fact find.
All right, good stuff. Right, Mr. S, the judge seems like she was incentivized to encourage the respondent to pursue legal aid and strongly recommend it. The judge controls the narrative of the allegations and are quick to silence you.
I agree with that comment up to a point. There can be an element of the fact that the judge appears to be making a sales pitch and appears to be giving legal advice out to one party or the other, hopefully to both, in order that it's fair and equal. They shouldn't be doing, obviously. The judge's role is not to give legal advice to anybody. But sometimes the judge will say, look, in order to try and move this matter on, in order to ensure that both parties have a voice in this matter, and then she or he will then possibly suggest that legal aid is something that one party or the other should pursue. They will often say that if they feel that one party is being overwhelmed. So they'll make comments about either legal aid or formal representation or whatever it may be, if they feel that one party is being overwhelmed by what is happening in proceedings. And in that case, that is the right thing for them to do, because both parties are entitled to be treated equally. Both parties are entitled to engage with the court on an equal footing, and that's quite key. It has to be on an equal footing. So one party should not be being compromised purely because they don't have representation, purely because they don't have the wherewithal to be able to bring a whole team into the courtroom.
Mr. S, yeah, keep at it, man. Keep at it. Don't get put off. Mr. W, police case NFA'd at fact-finding stage. Excess police statements and court statements don't match. Huge lies. What's chances of finding of dishonesty and cost order? I'll reply with excess profession after. And he's an applicant father, by the way.
Yeah, it's okay.
By the way, thank you for the £10 super chat. Appreciate that.
Yeah, super. Yes, thank you for that. Okay, where you have a situation where police disclosure and statements that have been made by the parties don't match, then obviously that is going to be exposed at a fact find. Now, the nub of your question is, what are the chances of a finding of dishonesty, i.e., the police are saying one thing, a party is saying something completely different, which means they're being proved to be dishonest as a result of when compared with the police. And as a result of that exposure, can you then secure a cost order? The securing of cost orders in child matters, and I'll assume this is a child matter, is rare, incredibly rare. The view of the court is that if both of you are prepared to come into court and fight, then both of you should take the cost implication of doing that on your own shoulders. So it's incredibly rare for a cost order to be drawn. Now, even if you demonstrate that one party has been wholeheartedly dishonest in a matter, the court still are very unlikely to rule a cost order, because they will then refer to what we call the Lucas Direction. And the Lucas Direction says that the court fully expects the parties to lie at some point in proceedings, because at the end of the day, we are in the middle of a fight and you will do what you need to do. So the court fully expects a party to lie. And as a result of that, the court also fully expects that it would be inappropriate to penalise financially the party who lies just because those lies are exposed. I appreciate there's a strange logic to that, but that is where we are. And so cost orders, and I have secured cost orders in child matters over the years, but invariably it has nothing to do with dishonesty.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, it's a cost orders for the whole case I want, based on the fact it's all been based on lies. I'm 50k deep. 50k deep. And she's got legal aid based on the false allegations. Yeah, unfortunately, I think a lot of fathers find themselves in this situation. They've thrown a lot of money at it. So I presume you hired solicitors and barristers, and this is why we're doing this. Look, this is why we're trying to put all this social media content out there, to try and help fathers. At least try and if nothing else, we can try and save them some money. And we do these streams to help them self-represent, litigate in person, because you don't need. So for those newcomers that are watching, you don't need a solicitor, you don't need a barrister. You can self-represent, or you can hire a McKenzie friend at a fraction of the cost. So this is why we do this, to try and help fathers avoid these financial pitfalls when they enter the system. But look, see, don't worry about it now. You've done your best. What's done is done, and you've done your best. But from this stage on going forward, you can self-represent, or we can represent you as Mackenzies. You don't need to be spending any more money like that.
Indeed. And that is, I'm going to say that's a lot of money to have spent. It is a lot of money to have spent. It's not an unusual amount, unfortunately. I'm saddened immensely by the amount of money that people are being asked to spend on family court matters, because that's money that could be in your pocket and spent on your children. So yeah, I'm immensely saddened by that. If she has received legal aid based on false allegations, you can challenge her legal aid by going to the representations department of the legal aid scheme, which is based up in Manchester. I will tell you this: they may well uphold your challenge, i.e. they may agree with you that she has lied, because you're going to produce court orders, just read transcripts or whatever, demonstrating that the court is of the view that she has lied. What they're not going to do is ask her for the money back, because legal aid don't appear to have a mechanism to pull money back in.
Yeah, system is broken. Also, what I found quite surprising this week, I had a lot of people message me on Instagram saying they're thinking of getting a solicitor because they need to go to court X, Y, and Z. And I've talked them out of it, saying, listen, you don't need to. So I'm still surprised by the fact that people are still not aware. The information is not out there. The reach is not out there yet. Hence, guys, we need you to push this content out there, spread it, so that others don't get caught out by the system ultimately. But yeah, we're working on it. And this year, at some point, myself and Mr. Ryan, like I said, we're going to really be pushing the social media to really get it to the next level. But we're working on it all behind the scenes. Right, Mr. S, I had a directions hearing on the 11th of March. And this is a follow-up from, obviously, we covered that comment. Right, Mr. S, I heard the FDR and final hearing J cannot be the same, but will the FDR judgment be listed in the order, or what are the situations where the final hearing J can know about the outcome?
Right. Okay. Let me clarify what's going on here. FDR, financial dispute resolution. So there are ordinarily 3 hearings in a financial remedy, i.e. when you're sorting out your finances at the end of a divorce. There are ordinarily scheduled 3 hearings. First hearing to establish what's going on. Second hearing, which we refer to as the FDR. And then the third hearing, which we refer to, funnily enough, as the final hearing. At the FDR, the judge has the opportunity to allow the parties to try and reach a resolution, try and reach an agreement as to what they're going to do in terms of splitting the finances. The way he does that is he gives them, and when I say he, I also refer to she, obviously, in terms of judges. But the way the judge does that is they give what is called an indication. So what this means is the judge says, right, folks, I have looked at this case. I have looked at what it is that we're fighting over. A house, cars, pensions, savings pots, whatever it might be. I've looked at it, and I will tell you this, that if I was making a decision today, based on what I've read, this is what my decision would be. I would split the assets in this way, whatever it is. You know, I'd split it 50-50, or I'd split it 60-40, or whatever I would do. But he gives that by way of an indication. Now, what the parties then do, the husband and wife, ex-husband and wife, they then leave the courtroom, but stay in the building and have some conversation over the course of an hour or an hour and a half where they say, well, okay, we either agree with what the judge said or we agree our own version. So we change it slightly, a little bit of tweaking. And then we go back into the court and we say to the judge one of 2 things. Either, judge, we have agreed. This is what we've agreed. It looks like this. Judge draws up an order. Everybody goes home. Problem solved. Or, judge, we cannot reach agreement. And then the judge has no choice but to then direct that the matter goes forward to a final hearing. Now, the point being made by S is absolutely right. The judge at a final hearing cannot be the same judge who sat on the FDR. And the reason for that is that the judge at a final hearing has to have what we call in the trade fresh eyes. So he is looking at the matter for the first time, and he does not want the preconception of any conversation that went on at the FDR. He is looking at it cleanly, without any, as I say, early opinions, early stances, early positions. He doesn't want any of that. So the order that he gets, that he reads from the FDR, does not tell him, or her, obviously, what went on at the FDR. All it says is the FDR was ineffective, so the FDR didn't work. He doesn't get to know that they were arguing over 60-40. He doesn't get to know that they couldn't reach an agreement over the who gets the Bentley. They couldn't reach agreement over who was going to get the holiday home in Portugal. He doesn't get to know any of that. All he gets to know is that the FDR was ineffective, in order that he walks into the room at the final hearing with no preconception. So he is clean. And then he listens to the parties and he makes his decision, whatever that might be. So that's how it works. That's the difference between FDR and final hearing. And that's the difference between them, in that it has to be 2 different judges. And invariably, most people, and this is not everybody, but most people reach an agreement at the FDR. And the reason they do that is because the indication that the judge gives you at the FDR, so I think if I was making this decision today, I would split these assets like this. That indication is a very clear indication of what is going to happen at the final hearing. Because the judge isn't going to do something that's wildly different. The judge is going to say, well, look, I'm going to split this like this. Because the judges are all what they call on the corridor. So they all work the same way. They all make the same decisions. They all work from the same formula book. And so the judge at the FDR will be saying to the parties, look, folks, I've told you what is very likely to happen at the final hearing. Now, you can choose to spend more money going to the final hearing, taking your representation, spending thousands of pounds on barristers, etc., because you believe you might be able to stand the opportunity of getting a better outcome, because you believe you might be able to deliver a strong argument to get a better outcome than I have indicated. That's your choice. But I am telling you quite strongly, the indication I have given will not be a million miles away from what will happen at the final hearing. So do you want to spend £10,000 each, which essentially you're losing straight off your pot, or do you just want to be sensible and strike an agreement today, and both of you swallow hard a bit, take a bit of pain, but leave the room? So lots of matters are settled at FDR, and those that go to final hearing, certainly on lots of occasions where I've been in final hearings, it doesn't take long for people to think we should have agreed this at FDR.
On that note, Mr. Ryan, I think you just want to make people aware, because look, I've known Mackenzies that don't actually deal with any of the finances. They only deal with child contact and whatnot. Do you want to just take this opportunity to highlight what we cover at Mackenzie Pickup and the specialist finance guy we have on board that can provide support? Do you want to just touch on that, maybe?
Yeah, I'll touch on that. I'll touch on that very quickly. And Farouk is absolutely right that a lot of Mackenzie friends will only work in the child arena. They'll only work with child contact cases, custody cases, and that's fine. That's great. That's fine. That's their choice. We cover deliberately, and have done all of the 20 years we've been operational. We cover the entire gamut of subjects that are raised in the family court. So we deal with child arrangements, we deal with domestic abuse, we deal with finances, we deal with divorce, we deal with non-molestation, we deal with occupation, etc. So we deal with everything that is going to happen in the in the family court. Financial remedy proceedings are complicated, particularly obviously if you've got a large bank of assets, if you've got houses and cars and pensions and savings pots and inheritance coming on your way and trust funds, etc. It can be complicated. Now, what we have on board, we are very lucky to have on board, aside from obviously the 20 years that I have done it, and I've picked up a vast amount along the way, and my team are all experienced in dealing with it. But we have one ace up our sleeve, which is we have a gentleman on our team who, and I'm not going to embarrass him by naming him today because he'll get all embarrassed, but we have a gentleman on our team who has been specializing in financial remedy law for the last 32 years. He's a solicitor, and he's been in practice for 35 years. But as I say, the last 32 years, he has focused on financial remedy. So I regard him, without fear of contradiction, I regard him as an absolute expert in that field. And we have the advantage that obviously he's a member of this team. And so that is something that we bring to the party with people. The reason we do an awful lot of financial remedy is because we have the skill set in order to manage it for you.
Yes, and Mr. Ryan has represented some real successful businessmen, high-ticket clients. So, like I said, we're not obviously restricted just to people with money, but we cover the whole range from guys at the bottom, and we do a lot of voluntary work and help those who can't afford it as well. So let's just clarify that. But just to clarify, what I'm trying to say is we cover the whole range. If you need help and support, you need representation, you're scared to do it alone, you need someone in your corner, reach out to Mr. Ryan. I'll put his email in the chat later. Drop us an email, and we have a team of Mackenzies up and down the country who will allocate to your case. And we don't normally, in 91 episodes, we've hardly ever actually fished or advertised for business. This is a free service. We are just here to help put information out there to help support you through the system. This is for those who do want the support. We have got capacity. We have got men on the ground. We have got troops on the front line trying to help people out there, help the fathers out there. Mr. S, are cost orders made for a fact find hearing, or when are they made?
There is no hard and fast rule as to when they are made. There are occasions where at the end of a fact find hearing, one party might make a cost application to try and secure their costs. But in order to do that, you have to demonstrate, if you're making the application that you want your costs paying, you have to demonstrate that the conduct of the other party in proceedings has been reprehensible, and that is the legal phrase that is used. Now, if they have simply created a load of fictitious allegations, that is not reprehensible conduct. If they've lied, that is not reprehensible conduct. Reprehensible conduct is when they have conducted themselves and used tactics within the proceedings that have caused the proceedings to stray in the wrong direction or be given the wrong impression of what is going on. It is a very complex legal argument to secure a cost order in particular post fact find. I've done cost order applications on a number of occasions. I'm always incredibly selective. I always say to the client, look, the odds of you actually getting this are very, very low, but we'll make the pitch for you. And I've had a few occasions, obviously, where we've been successful, but where we've been successful, the circumstances of the case has been extreme, very extreme. The abuse has been extreme. The abuse has continued through the proceedings as a result of what the party has been doing, and there we've warranted a cost order. But a straightforward, somebody lied, I'm sorry, you're not going to get a cost order against that.
Right. Can you explain how pensions are divided when parties are young and the party with the higher pot is unemployed? That's a good question.
Pension division in financial remedy can be a very complex conversation, primarily because it's driven by the size of the pot. Now, you say that we have got some pensions here where both parties, so both the husband and the wife, are relatively young, which means I surmise that their pensions have still got plenty of years to be contributed to. And you tell us that the party with the highest pot, i.e. with the most valuable pension, is currently unemployed. Now, the fact that you are currently unemployed won't have a huge amount of bearing on what the court may choose to do with your pension, because the court looks at pensions in isolation. And what they look at, the factors that they look at in terms of pension is how old are the parties? How many years of working life of the pension of the parties still got in them, which contributes to how much contribution they can potentially make to their pension. And also, at this point in time, at this point in the proceedings, what is the differential between those two pots? So if I've got one person who's got a £200,000 pension pot, and I've got another person who's got a £30,000 pension pot, and they're both within 3 or 4 years in terms of age of each other, the fact that one of them is unemployed is irrelevant. The court will say those two pots need equalising, i.e. we will merge them together and split them equally in order that both these parties have the opportunity to go forward. Now, there is an argument that says, well, why am I losing half my pension when I've worked hard for it? The court's view will be, whilst you were working hard for it with your good salary that allowed you to contribute to your pension and get really good pension contributions going, your partner, your wife, your husband, whoever it may be, was supporting you. That they may not have been working as hard in terms of your job, but they were working as hard, perhaps looking after the children, perhaps running the house, whatever it is they were doing. But the court will always say marriage is a partnership, and the contribution that is made by the two parties may not be equal, but is equally as valuable. And so both parties deserve the right to leave that marriage on as equal terms as is possible. Hence the reason that they will divide pots, divide pensions, equalise pensions, or they'll exchange pensions. So they'll say, well, I'll tell you what, we'll let you keep your pension pot, but you're going to lose a bit more of the house instead. So there's a whole formula around about dealing with pots. But the fact that one partner is unemployed currently is not going to hold a great deal of bearing, because the judge's view will be, well, you may be unemployed, but tomorrow you're going to get a job. So I'm not going to put any weight on that, because you are young enough to go and get a job and be working.
See, marriage is dangerous business, guys. Right, Mr. S, here's another tip of the week. When talking to my daughter, I always make up a story. We had one about my daughter climbing a mountain and meets a colorful dragon, and I used Google Gemini to turn that story into a nursery rhyme for a 3-year-old. She loved it. I also typed in a new story she told me during her weekly call, and Gemini created it in just a few minutes, and it's free. There you go. Another great idea with things that fathers can engage in. Those who have obviously video calls and some contact with their kids, to keep them engaged, Great idea, great tip. And AI is coming, guys. There's no point fighting it. Don't get left behind.
No,
Start
don't get left.
learning. Start absorbing.
Mm.
Yeah, I think for many decades, on many different over the decades, I was always left behind by technology and the latest thing. Like I said, I only came into social media 4 years ago when I entered the family court system. I never had a Facebook account. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't understand it. I had no idea why anyone would even have the app. And then, lo and behold, I've had to resort to social media to try and take this journey to help people out there. So imagine if I was already good at it. Imagine already I had a Facebook following, or I kept up to speed with technology and media and all of these things. So guys, don't get left behind. Use it. It's there. It's coming. Learn about it. Use it. Embrace it. It's the future. It's the present and the future. And we have another super chat. What's going on? We haven't had any super chats. I swear to God, for the last 30 streams, I reckon.
It's been a while. It's been a while. Yeah.
So it's been a while. So thank you, Mr. Zeke. Appreciate the £5 super chat. Thanks for the reply, chaps. Appreciate it. Here's the bombshell. X is a solicitor herself. SRA code of conduct breached. Now, this was the one that's 50K deep because through the cost order. Remember this fella?
Yeah, I remember this fella and there were allegations that were proved to be dishonest.
Where are we? Here we go.
Skimming through now. Now I'm going to, I'm not going to burst your bubbles, Zeke, but I'm going to say something that's, yes, there we go. He's talking about the police disclosures and the court statements don't match, etc., etc. Right. Okay. Your ex-partner is a solicitor. She's not acting as a solicitor in the family court. She's acting as a party. So she's not breaching any professional conduct code because she's not acting in the role at that particular time. I think if you pitched the SRA, they would say we're not interested because she's acting as a private individual and she's not acting as a solicitor. Were she acting obviously as a solicitor and representing the party, then we've got a different story. But no, their role, the SRA stance, and I can guarantee you of this, the SRA stance would be she's not acting as a solicitor at that particular point. She's not done anything wrong.
Yeah, Zeke, unlucky, man. This is with the solicitor, so she was 10 steps ahead. She was on top of the game. She was, you were fighting the system. She was a solicitor, you're fighting the system, mate. So, unfortunate. Happy to super chat. You guys provide an amazing service. You're right, we do. We are here every Sunday, and we have been here every Sunday now. Let me get my dates right here. From December, early December 20. Was it October?
It was October 24.
October 2024. We have been here every Sunday since then till now, bar one Sunday. Other than that, I think we've had a good run, guys. We're here providing the service, and we have helped many get through the system. So look, like, subscribe, follow, and share. Send the link out to those who may need it. Over the coming weeks, these streams might be getting busier because I'm now really going to knuckle down on the social media. I'm doing regular posts. I've started talking to the camera again. I've got over my fear of talking to the camera again. It's weird talking to the camera if you're not used to it. So we're making regular posts. Mr. Ryan has been pushing his social media heavily for the last 6 months now. That Family Law Guy, how long have you been pushing that now? 8 months?
No, a year. A Family Law Guy has been out for a year now, yeah.
Oh, bloody hell. All right, time is ticking. So yeah, we're pushing it. We're pushing it hard. I'm doubling down on the content now. I'm going to push it hard, and we're going to really be getting out there. So look, appreciate all of you. Appreciate the support. But support us by just like, subscribe, follow, and share. Leave comments on these videos and send the link out to those who may need it. Promote it to those who may need it. It may save someone losing 50K. It may save a relationship between a child and a parent. So send the link out there, guys. We're here for you, and we're here to try and shed a light on all of this and provide the support where it's needed. Any final closing comments from you, Mr. Ryan?
Closing. Oh, look at that perfect timing. We're nearly dead on 1 hour. Okay, folks, it's only a 4-day week in the court this week because they don't operate on Friday because it's Good Friday. But if you are in court this week, then respect the court will respect you. I trust your case goes well for you. Myself and Farouk and my team are always available should you wish to try and contact us, and we will endeavour to reply as quickly as we possibly can. Have a good week.
Yep, have a good one, guys. We'll see you next Sunday, 8:30.